Hey guys, the Fetid Bobo here, and in this video we're going to go over the main story lore. I have some tinfoil hat kind of stuff that relates with some side stories, but for the most part in this video we're going to focus on the main story than the main characters. First, let's make sure we're all on the same page. The main character's name used to be James, it then changed to Eric Blank, and now it's Eric LeBlanc. The passenger manifest has been updated to show this change, but I want to make sure we're all sitting together. It's also at the end scene, they say it out loud. We do know that the child, the girl that we killed, her name is Megan. We also know that Matthew Cross and Jessica Cross are the parents, as we see in interactions where Matt has requested a picture of Megan, and then in another email, interestingly, he says, "If you file for a divorce, you will regret it," with a picture of Megan Cross down below, like a threat to Megan. "If you file for a divorce, I'll hurt Megan." Further to that, we have a coroner report saying that Megan died from a homicide, a violent cut down her spine. The paper looks fairly old. It also looks like it's been abused with a lot of liquid on it, so perhaps it's been artificially aged from that liquid. I don't think she's been dead for an incredibly long period of time, but I do believe that she's been dead for a while. Now, I'm going to hint at close to a year, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. However, we can see from her skin that she is definitely not a fresh color. When we bring Timmy back, he's still got that bright, lovely spirit in him. And this perhaps could describe some of the discrepancies in cannibal colors. How old the mutant or cannibal is could determine what color it was, so the brighter colored cannibals are less aged. Now, Matthew Cross also has some other interesting aspects, since he was a scientist at Sahara Therapeutics, working on a aging cream we can see from the walls inside, and as well from his slideshow documentation, the Jarius Project, which references longevity. However, something else interesting about the Jarius Project is it seems that it's a mention to Jarius, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but a story in the Bible, with some very interesting things that nail that connection together. We can find in the game 2 Bible documents that say, "Don't be afraid, just believe," and "She's not dead, she is sleeping." Mark 5:39, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." And Luke 8:50, "Don't be afraid, just believe, and she will be healed." A story where a father lost his 12-year-old daughter, and Jesus revived her. I don't think that was coincidence. However, you can take from this that he named the project probably because his daughter was dead at that point, to revive his daughter, even though maybe we suggest that he might have killed his daughter. But we're going to get more onto his issues in a little bit. Just know that it seems like he's selling the project to the company as an aging cream, and not actually to revive people. So he might be misleading the company that he works for. And due to this sort of aggressive behavior and dishonesty, I think he was fired. And we have a document of showing his termination with the company. I think this might be in part to the fact that he was sending threatening emails to his wife while at work. In part, probably how he was treating the children, although the company might not be the most honest in the first place, experimenting on children. And his discussion of shooting a plane down in an email. But I believe in collection of these issues, he was fired from the company. Now, moving into the next document, let's already talk that we've seen Cross draw crosses everywhere. We've also seen him reference the Bible. He's a bit into it with the Jarius Project, and he's wrote on it. Now, we also know of a group of people who came much before, somewhere between the 1930s and 1980s, and I'll make a timeline video later, trying to place down everything. But in this group, they have a document that some people on Reddit have done really good work to translate, and so I'd like to read it to you. "Woman with 4 legs. She has multiple labia. She sees. Quick, with damp skin. Pale complexion. 3 meters high. Deep pit. Some infants are dead. The character is not an uncle. Living infants are misshapen. The cross did not help. Yet I have not prayed. Her ways cannot be appeased." That is one translation done by Apollinus, Thank you very much. And I'll put a link in the description so you can check that one out. And another interpretation was woman 4 legs, multiplying Sirius, excellently moist skin, pale complexion, the deep depressed rim. Some babies died, the uncle characteristics, meaty, infant dogs. Cross did not help, traps do not work, and you ask with his own ways out of the mouth of Olymphasis. Do not worry. Now in this second translation by Yanara, I found something really interesting and I think it supports going forward. Now first of all, we have pictures of these mutants, and seeing that this expedition happened between 1930 to 1980, I believe that the mutants can exist without Sahara. Sahara did not invent Armsy, did not invent Virginia or the Cowmen. These existed before, we have pictures of them before, they're drawn by this group of religious people. Second of all, with Yanara's interpretation, he says it sounds a bit medical. In fact, the other interpretation also says it was a bit of a medical diagnosis in a way. And he suggests that Olymphasis might be a combination of a disease, or a bacteria, and perhaps somebody's name in this expedition put together. And I think that's really important because we have a number of cannibals who are not children, who are not crazily deformed, and yet they're different, like the red cannibal. And I don't believe every single cannibal came about through this machine doing the revive process. In fact, the revive process seems to make you really screwed up. And some of these cannibals are just crazy. We also have the oily, gray-skinned cannibals inside the caves, deep in the caves. They don't show up until later outside, and they're mostly found deep inside the caves. The red cannibal looks most like one of these grayskins. He doesn't look like the tribal group that runs around on top in the beginning. So I believe he was affected by this machine, this virus, this bacteria that affects you, even if you're not necessarily using it to revive people. I think this change would also include aggressive behavior, cannibalism, and perhaps even a shrinkage of your genitals, which would explain why all of the cannibals don't have really a penis or vagina. You just don't see it. However, many of the dead bodies of scientists do have it. I'm not going to show it, but they do have it. So, what this tells me, I believe, is not only is Cross influenced by the Bible and perhaps had seen these groups of people who had came to the island and put up these cross walls, but that perhaps that Cross was either raised or a part of this cult that was at the island who experienced these terrifying things, and most of them end up dying. And I think this also because he has later symptoms of this change, which I do not believe requires everybody to be revived as if they died. In fact, reviving might not be the primary purpose of the machine. And we can say that this machine has a history of sacrifice and death. Around certain locations we can see what look like fried bodies that have been left in a fixed position, sort of like a Pompeii event. We also have bones littering the entrance right before you get into the center of the sinkhole. These bones are the most decayed on the island, and they're quite white, and so I believe they've been there for even longer than what we have for the 1930s. To add on to this theory relating Dr. Matthew Cross with this religious group previous, we also have this crosses wall. And in a magazine, the Limestone magazine, you can see crosses. So that doesn't say that the religious group came in at 1930, but it does say Matthew Cross saw this magazine, and I believe he personally added in the crosses, just like he drew in crosses on his work paper. So now we have a basis for Matthew Cross being aggressive, for his change, and why Dr. Matthew Cross is the red cannibal. Also, interestingly, I would believe that this aggression, this anger, showed up in Megan's drawings. You can see in this drawing that Matthew has pants. Daddy's angry, he looks evil, he looks mean, but he has hair, and he has pants, and he has shoes. Something that our red cannibal has never had. So I believe this change happened over time, and perhaps in Matthew seeing what he was becoming, one of the ways he represented himself was in the red paint as his daughter saw him. And I believe that's why the cannibals are afraid of us when we wear the red paint. Not because we look super cool, not because we're covered in red, because we get covered in blood all the time when we get attacked. They're not afraid of blood. That's not what they're afraid of. I believe they're afraid of Dr. Cross. And when we look like Dr. Cross, they're afraid of us. And they would be afraid of Dr. Cross, all of them, including the Grayskins, because Dr. Cross has a history on the island, much further than just working at a facility. So what we've done is we've connected the red cannibal to this religious group that has previously been on the island, connected him to a slightly older time. It doesn't have to be significant. He doesn't even have to be part of the group that went in. Perhaps he just found them, or he was a child of one of the explorers in there. But I do believe he has a bit of age to him, a bit of an experience to him, explaining some of the reactions the cannibals have, as well as his own transformation. He has a significantly different transformation than some other cannibals. He matches the deep-dwelling cannibals more. And to just add another peg into this idea of Cross being this, the religious guy who puts crosses everywhere. Not only do we have the paper, not only do we have that magazine, probably from him or someone like him, and the walls, but we also have what looks to be the lawyers with a cross in their mouth, and it says, "I want to be a lawyer," a book. So I think that's them. Now, you can find these lawyers in the lawyer cave. Interestingly, they have a bunch of redacted pages. And a fortune saying a dark-haired man will soon be out of their lives, and they will be thankful. Now, before I thought this related to the main character, and it still may. This will be part of our tinfoil hat video later. But I may suggest that it might be divorce. These lawyers are coming to give him the divorce papers. And we're going to do a timeline video later which I'll justify some of the timings and suggest timings. Some things are movable and they're not really fixed. We don't have enough information to fix them down. But it appears that the Red Cannibal took Timmy to revive Megan. He started the Jarius project to revive Megan. Megan may have had reasons to be mad at his dad, being mean to her mom, killing her perhaps. And I think most likely Megan had been to the facility before, or at least that the dad had drawings from Megan previously, because it doesn't make sense to have Megan with the blood footsteps going to that room, making all those drawings, and somehow they magically spread throughout the rest of the facility. I think those drawings were already drawn, or at least most of them, especially because it helps with the idea that the Red Cannibal, the one that Megan drew, was of her dad before the full transformation. He still has his boots, shirt, and maybe not shirt, but his pants on at least. And that being an older one that influenced his decision to cover himself in red paint because of his daughter, I think that makes more sense at it being older than her being dead. That she made the Red Cannibal in essence. Of course, with the help of the machine driving him crazy. Now, I believe that he rushed his project. He wasn't ready. Partly maybe because, once you destroy the facility, there's somebody going to be coming at some point. So I don't think that they've been dead for too long. And I looked up the decaying bodies just to see what they look like, and I don't think that we have to say the facility has been destroyed for that long. Just that it has been destroyed. So he probably rushed it because we were coming into the facility. And clearly it wasn't ready because she changed, and so did Timmy. And before that reason, we shouldn't have revived Timmy because it wasn't ready. But we did anyways. We crashed our own plane. We became our own Red Cannibal to save our son. Now, it seems like the effects on us aren't as strong yet. We still look kind of normal in that cutscene. But perhaps we too will change. But Timmy definitely did. And a final note is, I believe the developers had a significant influence from, indirectly or directly, Lovecraft. You have the Ancient Ones in his stories, and we have the Ancient Artifact in ours. These beings beyond time, they're not really knowable, And you even have these similar kind of octopus weird shapes, just like our mutants. So I'm not sure we'll ever get the full story on the artifact, but I think we can safely assume that it's old, it's ancient. The developers even kind of reference that a little bit by the fact that the sinkhole is a sea note. A sea note in Aztec culture is a portal to the underworld, Xibalba, and sacrifices were usually made in that area. One of the other parts of Lovecraft stories, in a usual sense at least, I haven't read them all or haven't heard all of them, but it seems very frequently that you feel like you've escaped, you feel like you've made it out, you're safe, you got away from this evil, this unknowable evil that doesn't really care about humanity, but you didn't. Just like us. We thought we got away. 1 year later, success, we're free. But we're not. Well, hopefully this is a good starter video on the lore. There are some other elements that I could address, like, for example, some of the magazines reference the artifact. Looney Landing, I believe, makes the article a bit more unreliable, probably like an Inquirer sort of thing. Perhaps a leak was given to them. And I would like to make a timeline on a lot of this stuff, just to kind of better fix some of the dates, or give possible dates. And the devs might continue to develop the lore as well. So look forward to other videos on this subject, timeline, and we also have some other details that I think will connect to the main story. But they're a bit more conspiracy, kind of tinfoilish. Anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. If you have any theories, feel free to put them down below. Questions, comments, of course, I'll try to respond to them as well. And I hope everybody has a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.